this. What we're about to look at now is a video of Tim Gurner, a founder and CEO of the Gurner Group, which is probably just some investment group, a group of rich people who own shares in companies, so they're able to make money and accumulate wealth off of working people's labor. And Tim had some very interesting comments to make about the state of the economy and what needs to be done.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years. And we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50%, in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going on. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
I mean, if this guy wants productivity to increase so bad, he should quit his Wall Street job and get an actual job. Go work in the factories. Go work in the fields, Tim. If you need productivity to increase, why don't you actually do something with your labor to help increase productivity? But no, of course, he just wants to start whipping the workers. He wants to inject pain in the economy so they work harder, because all the systemic problems with capitalism, inflation and things like that, it's all the workers' fault. It's not because of the contradictions of the capitalist system and the way that it's inherently crisis-ridden. It's just because the workers are lazy and they don't want to work hard enough. It's not because of the tendency of the rate of profit to fall that Marx analyzed 150 years ago, that rates of profit are going down. It's because the workers are lazy. We just need to start whipping them and inject pain into the economy until they work harder for us and our profits go up. Ain't that right, Tim?
I love this. This is a treat. We should have all capitalists say this, because this shows, this confirms that these are the motives of the capitalists. They've always had to gloss over their motives and make this bullshit ideological twist that somehow their profits lead to the well-being and the common good and all of this shit, because that's how you get consent. Like, no order can survive just off of coercion. None. Like, every order needs some level of consent in order to survive. And you need capitalists to lie about their intents, about their interests. You need them to convince people whose interests are not aligned with their class interest that their interest actually is. When they speak like that, they can't do that. So this is a treat. This is a treat. This is a capitalist admitting to the people that they are scumbags. But it's not just them. It's not them as individuals. They're, as Marx would say, the personification of capital. If it wasn't them, it'd be someone else doing it. The system needs a select few amount of people to do this. And so we shouldn't personalize it, even though it'd be great to have this man in a gulag. So we shouldn't personalize it, but realize that he's just saying what the system demands of people like him. That's it. And when they do these things, and this is, in a way, this is why Empire hated Trump. He was the guy that, maybe because of incompetence or whatever other reason, took the mask off. The mask is fundamental for Empire. That mask that just prevents us from seeing what's actually going on is how consent is derived. And Trump would go out and talk about how he wanted Venezuela's oil. You can't do that. Bush had to lie about WNDs, and all these people had to lie about different fucking reasons to obscure the actual reason why they were doing things. And Trump was just saying, damn it, when I was there, we almost had Venezuela's oil, and now look at them. Now they're stabilizing again. It's like, what the fuck? Empire's like, what are you doing? You're pulling the mask down. You're gonna let them see us. And this is what this guy's doing. He's, as someone said in the comments, he's taking the mask off and he's saying the quiet, hidden part out loud.
He's almost giving expression to Marxist analysis. Like, what does Marx call the unemployed or unemployment? He calls it the reserve army of labor, which is necessary for capitalism to function. Marx says this. Capitalism creates an army of people who aren't employed but are ready to step in if the capitalist, say, fires a worker for not working hard enough. So it gives them this constant pool of workers that they can draw from, and they can constantly threaten to replace their existing workforce. So that's what this guy's saying we need more of. We need to increase the reserve army of labor so we can, increase what Marx would call labor intensity. We can increase productivity by making the workers work harder under threat of being replaced, because they're slacking off. They're thinking about their family too much on the job, or they're playing fantasy football or doing something that they actually enjoy instead of being laser focused on making me profit, which is all that these parasites, these bloodsuckers like this guy want. Coincidentally, he looks like a real vampire. Like, this guy could have been in the Twilight movies for sure. They wouldn't have even had to put any makeup on him.
What he's saying there to working families is that his class needs them to be even more precarious, even more desperate, even more lifeless, because it's no life when you're just laboring in a meaningless, alienated job for 10 to 12 hours a day in order to relax, and then you spend the rest of your waking hours feeling the burden of that work. What he's saying to those families is that in order for his profits and the profits of his buddies to continue where they're at and to continue accumulating, he needs working people to be in that level of desperation. And I don't think working people are dumb. I think they've been lied to. Oftentimes they've accepted it. Other times they've just resigned because they understand what fighting back entails, getting fired, etc., getting persecuted. But working people are not them. And when idiots like this go viral saying the quiet part out loud, it gets the wheels moving. And a lot of people who are looking for answers to why it is that their lives are getting harder, even though they're working either the same or more than they did before. And that's the answer right there. That's the answer. You have a system that needs people like that to exist, and that their existence is premised on yours being as immiserated as it is. So
That's
I want 10 more of these.
Sorry, what's that?
I want 10 more of these. We should get comrades to infiltrate these billionaires, get them high, and then record them saying shit like this. If we get 2 of these a month, we'll have a revolution in a year.
Yes, let's get them drunk. I mean, that's what I said on Twitter. Like, this guy's going to spark a revolution and make himself target numero uno of the discontented masses. What you said is so perfect. His existence as a wealthy person is dependent upon exploiting you and making your life as miserable as he possibly can, injecting pain into the economy. That's exactly what it is. And he's just expressing what he knows to be the reality because he thought he was safe talking to Financial Review at the Property Summit. I mean, that's the most bourgeois sounding meeting you could ever have, the Property Summit held by Financial Review. But somebody filmed it and it got out, and regular people were able to see it. And I mean, this is how all capitalists feel, and this is how all capitalists are. Their existence, their place on top of society as a capitalist is dependent on your misery and on your exploitation. Not all of them say it. Some of them are better liars than Tim. They don't say the quiet part out loud, but that's the reality of it. And that's what we mean when we say the truth is on our side, right? All we're trying to do is point out the reality of the situation and the reality of the economic system to people so they can struggle against it. The capitalists are dependent on lying to you, except for every once in a while they mess up and they forget to tell their lies.